I'm about to break a promise to you, but I guarantee you it's gonna be worth it. Hey everybody, welcome back to Auto Anatomy. My name is Sean and thank you so much for joining us. I made a promise, and I think it was on the last Corvair video, that the interior was gonna be next. And I will get to something on the interior today, but I have a method to my madness, and today we're gonna be doing actually some rust repair. Let me show you why. So on the right rear quarter, we've got a ton of rust over the arch and along this this belt line right here. And what I don't want to do is go through the trouble of doing all the interior and everything. Little shadow puppets here. Go through the trouble of doing the interior and then have a big hole right here, get water splashed up into it, and then ruin the brand new carpet, new interior, new everything. You can see the headliner in there is getting worse and worse and worse. So what I'm thinking today is let's knock out some more of this rust repair. I've got some metal here to do this piece that I cut off of another Corvair. I picked up this panel back here at the Corsa Nationals. So I've got this piece of metal. And I think in the process, I'm also gonna raise this trunk floor up just a little bit on this side. In case I want to put a different muffler on it, it just gives me a little bit more option here. So that's the goal for this video. We're going to knock out the last bit of rust repair on this side, and then hopefully that should knock out every last bit of structural rust. I mean, there's some little surface stuff, and there's some, like, you know, the trim rail around the engine where the gasket sits. That's got a little bit of rust in it, but that's no big deal. But I think that'll make the body completely solid and basically knock out all the rust in the car. So that's what we're going to tackle today. If you like seeing classic cars get brought back to life, take just a minute and hit that subscribe button. Click the bell to be notified when new videos come out. It's an absolutely free way to help support our channel. I'll also put a link up there for our website where you can check out our merch page, stay in touch with us in other ways, check out all of our social media. So I think the first thing is, let's get the back bumper off. Let's get some of the trim pieces out of the way. Make sure we don't cut anything that we want to keep. And then we can start laying out and figuring out exactly where all the rust is and start chopping away. So with the back bumper off, I'm faced with a choice. I can either work on the front of the wheel arch or the back of the wheel arch, because both of them need to get done. So basically that puts me into whether I do this piece, which is going to be a little bit easier in some ways and a lot harder in other ways, or I do this entire piece, which I think actually may be the easier one. So I think what I'm actually going to do is work on the back of the wheel arch section first, partly because there's a little bit more structural work that needs to get done. I want to go ahead and raise that trunk floor, and I want to get that done because I'm really excited about the possibility of changing mufflers and having just a little bit more space there. And I want to see how that can be done. I think the front part of the arch is actually going to be pretty straightforward. I've got to pull out some interior panels and that kind of stuff, but not a big deal. So let me just roughly mark where this is going to line up, and then I think we're ready to start cutting some metal. All right, so I'm not gonna cut on this line, I'm gonna cut down from this line because this is a pretty big panel and it's pretty prominent, so I wanna make sure that it fits really, really well and basically disappears into this quarter. So we're just gonna take it very, very slowly, creep up to the marks and get it perfect. Well, no going back now. So with a rough cut made and sanding down to, frankly, a bunch of Bondo into the bare metal, I can actually see where the factory spot welds are along the bottom lip here, where the outer fender attaches to the structural piece. And now I can just center punch and then spot weld cut this these bits that are holding it to the structural piece here. So I can peel that off and then hopefully lay up the new piece, get it roughly cut out, fitted, and then I can start cutting out the structural bit. So I don't want to take away any structure until I've got it marked and kind of roughly fit in place. I knew this was going to be work. I hope I haven't opened up too big of a can of worms here. So the next big hurdle is actually going to be on this corner, because the rear roll pan and the outer fender sandwich around the inner structure here. And I don't want to have to cut this out because the panel just kind of runs in between here. So I'm trying to figure out how to do this, because my concern is I don't want to cut out the entire structure and then I've got nothing to reference the new panel to go back on. So what I may do is actually come in here, because all of this is going away, this entire bit of structure. But I may go ahead and just drill some 1/8 inch holes and put Cleco pins in so that I can put it back in if I need to help reference against the body and line everything up. Then once that's kind of tacked in place, then I can undo those Cleco pins and drop out this entire panel here. Okay, well, I think we're at a place where we can finally start to mark out where this is actually going to go. There we go. And again, this is not going to be my final line. This is just going to be the absolute highest that it can be. All right, we're pretty close. Still got a little bit more fitting to do, but I think we're basically at a place where we can start to focus on the raising the trunk floor on this side. Let me pop this back off and see what we can do about that. So my dilemma here is this is loose here from the back of the wheel well, and this piece is still bolted in. But what I kind of want to do is, let me get you in camera here, is just basically take this and run it very close to the outer fender skin and just run it straight and then straight. So that way it's going to raise this whole floor up to about probably 4 inches out of the corner here. Basically it's going to match the other side. So if you look on the driver's side on the Corvair, it runs really flat all the way across and then comes straight down. I want to do basically that, because I think, so here's my thought. I can either put in a muffler, a standard size muffler standing straight up and down this way, or I might be able to put one in this way, and that would tuck it kind of up under the body. So let me do a little bit more looking here at spot welds and kind of get a game plan together and see what makes the most sense. So with the trunk floor cut out, you can get a better idea of what I'm thinking of for raising it up. So this line here represents roughly where the original trunk floor went to. And what I want to do is raise that up to over onto this side. And I keep saying trunk floor, it's actually the engine, wheel well, package, whatever thing. Basically, raise this all the way up to here and then come all the way to the back, and where this drops down, take this straight across and then run it straight right here. So my hope is that by raising that trunk floor up, it'll let me put in a muffler this way or this way, and can use actually a full-size muffler rather than that little round muffler that we've got on there now. Let's start with cutting this piece off right here, and then I can take some tape and kind of roughly lay out where the new trunk floor is going to be. So I've thrown the exhaust system back on here because I want to switch out this muffler. I know we've been through this before, and I love the sound of this one, but it's just a little loud still. So this one is a straight through, that's just a perforated tube that goes straight out. And one of the things with this style muffler is over time, it does get louder as some of that packing compresses and gets full of carbon and soot and whatnot. So it's a lot louder than it was when we started. So I picked up this is also a Magnaflow, but it's a kind of a turbo style muffler. And I've just chopped the stubs off because I think we're gonna need to get as much room in here as we can. And I'm trying to figure out how exactly I want to put it in here. I mean, the easy option is to basically put it in vertically like that with the exit on the bottom right exactly where the other one is, and it'll be a little bit narrower. So this is a 6-inch round muffler and this is a 4-inch wide oval muffler. So this is the easiest way. The other option that we can do that might be a little bit more finicky is run it horizontally like about here. But the problem with that is I've got to figure out how to run tubing into and out of it. And what we could do, let me see if I can balance this thing in here, is take the inlet here and come under and do a 180 into the inlet here, then comes through the muffler and out a 180 out the back. Now that's two hard 180s. And I think that may just be a little bit too much, too many tight bends, and it might kill some flow. So I think what I'm gonna do is mount it kind of the way I had it to begin with. So mount it vertically, right about like that, with the outlet just about there, and then weld on that other tip. So I think the first thing is, let me chop this off here, get rid of this muffler, and I think I want to put a V-band clamp on here so that if I want to change mufflers in the future, I don't have to take it off again. I can just unbolt this V-band clamp and do something else. So I've got the muffler mocked up. I went ahead and welded on the V-band clamp there and welded on the tailpipe. And I had to cut the original exhaust back a little bit further just because the angle coming down was going to be a little bit too steep. So now I'm just going to make some pie cuts here and join these two, then figure out some sort of muffler hanger, and then the exhaust will be done. Once the exhaust is done, then you can see my muffler holder here. Then I can come in and build the support structure around it. Got the modifications done to the exhaust system. I'm just back purging it right now, and here in just a few minutes we'll go ahead and glue this thing together. And then hopefully we can mount this part on the car, mount the muffler, figure out a bracket for it, and then move on finally to doing what started this whole process, which is fixing some rust. I'm gonna have to make this, I think, in a few different pieces, but this is kind of what I'm thinking overall, is we're gonna go straight from here all the way to the back point here, and then I've got to make a piece that's gonna go right here I'm going to try and make the actual piece out of one piece, but I think from a cardboard standpoint, it needs to be a few different pieces just to make sure it fits. And then we'll make the piece that runs down to the bottom of the fender here. Once I've got this where I'm happy with it, translate this all to metal, get it tacked into place, and then we can finally go to welding the actual fender on. Piece of metal cut out for the trunk floor here, and I've got it roughly marked, you know, what needs to go, you know, where bend wise. And the next step is going to be to put it in the brake. But before I do that, this is the original piece that was cut out, and I don't know what this number is. Maybe you guys in the chat can let me know. It says T4510137R, and none of those numbers match up to anything on the body, the engine, anything that I can find. So let me know in the comments what this number is. But I think for giggles, I may just take my stamp set and punch this back into this piece of metal just to make it look, I don't know, maybe a little bit more original. All right, looks pretty good. Let me just do a little bit more trimming here, and I think this thing's just about ready to tack into place. Well, I've got the horizontal piece done here, and it is fitted, clamped into place. I just need to do a little grinding back of some paint, and then we can weld it in. Then I can start to work on the vertical piece. It'll go basically from here, the back side of the wheel arch, all the way to the back of the roll pan, and then attach right there on that little lip. So let me do a little cleaning up, some prep, put some weld down primer, and we'll get this part glued in. Okay, now that piece is on, all right, now let's see if we can get this tacked into place. Why is it that every time you get right in the middle of something, you run out of welding gas? But I've got plenty to do, and unfortunately it's Saturday, which means no welding gas at least until Monday. So why don't we start on ripping out this headliner, because this thing is nasty. Everybody's talking about it, and it's starting to fall down on my head. So we're gonna rip all of this out. I've got a whole bunch of new sound deadening material. We're gonna make this thing as silent as we can possibly make it inside. So let's start ripping out the headliner and making a mess. Well, it is about 1 week later. I came back from my medical conference in Boston with COVID. So I've been laid up in bed for the last 3 days. In fact, this is the first time that I've been up since at least, let's see, today's Tuesday, so Saturday. Still haven't made it to the welding gas store, so you can see the panel is still not on the car, but it is 4:15 now and is nice and solid. So I'm going to try and work a little bit on the headliner while I can. I've got to take things super slow, and I think the first thing is just taking down what's there and getting an inventory of what all is needed. We're going to make some modifications to the body while we're up in the headliner. I'm going to put in some brackets for some 3-point seat belts, and then I'll show you exactly what products we're using to insulate the headliner again. So let's dive into getting the old headliner finally out of the car. Well, I guess these weren't very tight. I'm taking them out by hand. So I've got all the trim off, the visor's off, the rear view mirror off. I think we're pretty much ready to start pulling this headliner down. And it should be just pulling this loose from the sides and then the bows front to back. So pulling the headliner down, you can definitely see some evidence of mice up in there. So if you're ever doing this on an old car, put a mask on. It can protect you from hantavirus. And definitely don't want to get sick working on these old things. So put a mask on. I'm going to start sucking out all of this up in here, and it's already making a mess. I can't believe that this is that bad. I thought it was just going to be a little bit, but this is going to be rough. I don't know if you can see, a lot of mold in here. Not good. It's good that we're getting it out. Not good that it's there. Now that we've got the old sound deadening material out, let me show you what we're putting back in the car. We're going to be using the Siless system from Amazon, and I'll put an affiliate link in the description here. And we're going to do a 3-layer system here, starting with the Siless Sound Deadener Max. And this will go right up against the body and provide some like acoustic dampening and some heat rejection. On top of that, we'll go the Siless Hybrid 3-in-1, and this is more of like a rubbery, squishy material there. And then finally, on top of that will be their foam sound absorption mat. So my hope is that with all 3 products, it'll knock out some of the tin can, insulate it really well, and make it a lot quieter and more fun and actually easier to drive. Sprayed some rust converter all around the edges there. I'm going to let that dry and then come back, wipe everything down with some acetone, and then we can start laying out where all the sound deadening is going to go. We're just about done knocking out the headliner prep, getting it ready to put in the new one. And I finally got some more welding gas. So I think it's high time we go ahead and finish welding on the back of the rear fender. So we've got everything clean and prepped. I'm just gonna clean a little bit more paint on both sides here and then wipe everything down. So one thing that I'm gonna try that I've never done before is using some 3M panel bonding adhesive, and we're going to use it in conjunction with welding. So along this lower lip right here, and along the outer lip here, and then the inner sense out of the wheel arch, I want to go ahead and put some panel bond on there too, clamp it and weld it. And that should provide not only a little bit of additional strength, but it'll let me seal this panel against the structure here, because once I get this up in place, it's going to be almost impossible to sneak like a, some seam sealer all the way down here. And I do want this relatively well sealed. So we'll get some panel bond on here and then we'll clamp it in place and start tacking it in. So the panel is completely welded in, just got a few more clamps on there just holding that panel bond in place until it dries. Coming around to the interior, you can see on the headliner, I've got all of the sound deadening in place and it is dead sounding. That is going to be fantastic riding down the road and it not be, echoey and boomy up in there. Which brings us around to what's next. Before I can put a headliner in the car, a lot of this has to come out because these interior panels have to get sanded and painted. Now, I'm opening up a huge can of worms here because with the interior panels come out, it's easy to pull the glass out, which makes putting the headliner in. Before I put new glass back in place, this panel has got some rust right here, and thankfully it's an easily removable panel. But in order to get it out, you just unscrew it here in the back, and there's a few screws in the front, but the back windshield needs to come out. So if the back window comes out, then I can replace this. Then I can do some painting on the interior. Then I can put a new headliner in it. But before any of that happens, we've got more rust repair to do. Because the worst thing that I could do would be to spend all this time and money and effort making the interior perfect and then have either water splash on the inside and have it damaged, or to have some welding slag or sparks fly off and damage the new interior. So the next step is going to be finishing up all of the rust repair on this side. And as you can see, it's a little bit more extensive, but not too terribly bad. Got some grinding here to do, then we'll do a little bit of body work. Not terribly worried about that yet because there's no sense in finishing all of this until all of this is done. But I think that's pretty much going to wrap up this video. Actually, let's go fire up the car with the new exhaust so you can hear what it sounds like. If you like seeing classic cars get brought back to life, take just a moment and hit that subscribe button and ring the bell to be notified when new videos come out. You can also swing over to our website at autoanatomy.net, and I'll put a link up there where it's got feeds to our social media pages as well as our merch page. Take care of yourselves. God bless. We'll see you soon.